The team that wins the 2026 World Cup might not be the most talented one, won't be the richest one, won't even be the one with the best player on the pitch. Here's what will actually decide it. Since 2010, every single World Cup winner has run one clearly defined tactical system in the knockout rounds. Every one. Which means if you can't tell a high press from a gegenpress right now, you're already losing the argument with your mates before kickoff. For the next 10 minutes, I'm breaking down every major tactic you're going to see at World Cup 2026. What it actually is, why it works, and which team is the modern reference point for each one. High press, England. Gegenpressing, Germany. Positional play, Spain. Low block, Morocco. And there's one tactic on this list that football Twitter refuses to respect. I'll name it, I'll prove it. And by the time we get there, you won't be able to argue with it. Smash the like button so the algorithm pushes this to every confused football fan who's about to walk into a World Cup pub watch and pretend they know what they're talking about. Hit subscribe. We're running a full World Cup 2026 tactical breakdown series all the way to the final whistle. Share it with the friend who calls everything tiki-taka, and drop the tactic you want explained in detail next in the comments below. Football used to be a game where defending meant standing in your own half and waiting for something to happen. 10 men behind the ball, shaped tight, let the other team figure it out. That era is over. Modern football is decided by which team is willing to attack the other team's defenders before they're ready. And the high press is the tactic that started this entire revolution. The concept is brutally simple. Don't wait for the opposition to build up play. Hunt them while they're still building it. Press them high up the pitch, force a mistake in their own half, and convert that panic into a chance before their defensive block can get organized. You're not just defending. You're turning their goalkeeper into a liability. Why does it work at such a disproportionate rate? Turnovers in the final third lead to goals at roughly 3 times the rate of any other source on a football pitch. 3 times. That's not a marginal edge. That's the reason Klopp was collecting trophies for a decade, why Arteta's Arsenal genuinely terrifies the clubs below them in quality, and why Tuchel has built England around it. With Jude Bellingham as your press trigger, the moment he steps aggressively to the first defender, the entire line shifts forward in sync. Suddenly, the opposing center-back, who was perfectly comfortable at club level, is making a split-second decision under pressure he hasn't trained for at international intensity. The risk is real, though. The space behind. If your press triggers mistime by even 2 yards, you've vacated an entire corridor of grass for the opposition striker to run into. It's a Jason Bourne chase scene, brilliant when the timing is perfect, catastrophic when someone trips. Every team in England's group is going to probe that space in the first 20 minutes. They all watch the same film. Comment below, who's running the better high press right now, Tuchel's England or De La Fuente's Spain? Because that argument is going to matter when these two potentially meet in the knockouts. But here's where most fans get confused. And I've heard this in every pub conversation I've had about this tournament. They watch England press, then they watch Germany press, and they assume they're seeing the same system with different shirts. They're not even close. And that difference is going to cost someone a semi-final spot. The high press and the gegenpress are not the same thing. They're cousins who will absolutely fight at Christmas over who invented what. The high press is a proactive system. You press the opposition before they settle, before they can build. The gegenpress is reactive, and that distinction is everything. In a gegenpress, you allow possession sometimes. You're fine with conceding the ball in certain zones. Because the moment you lose it, the entire team triggers an immediate, coordinated counterpress to win it back within 5 seconds, before the opposition can even look up to transition. Klopp didn't invent the idea, but he weaponized it at Dortmund and then at Liverpool to a level where entire tactical textbooks were written trying to decode it. The principle is almost unsettlingly simple. The opposition is most disorganized right at the moment they win the ball. That's when you attack them, not after they've settled. Right then, in that window of chaos. Nagelsmann's Germany runs a version of this that is physically relentless. Full throttle for 90 minutes, hunting every second ball, demanding every player covers 30 to 40 meters per press. And that's both the beauty and the fundamental design flaw. A gegenpress team is essentially betting that their fitness bank is larger than yours, and that their legs hold out longer. By the 75th minute of a knockout match, if you haven't broken your opponent, you're the one who starts collapsing. Like a rookie running their first marathon who didn't bother checking how long a marathon actually is. Klopp invented a tactic so physically demanding that the man who created it retired from football management specifically to recover from it. Make that make sense. The Gegenpress rewards deep squads, athletic central midfielders who can cover ground in both directions, and the kind of mental clarity to execute perfectly when everything in your body is screaming at you to slow down. It punishes the teams that can't rotate, can't match the intensity, and can't handle the relentless tempo shift. Now, here's what the high press and the Gegenpress both have in common. At their core, they're both built around winning the ball back fast. But what if your entire tactical identity is constructed around never losing it in the first place? That's where this gets genuinely interesting. And it's where the most misunderstood, most lazily labeled tactic in the history of international football finally gets its proper explanation. Let's come back to the through line for a second. Since 2010, every World Cup winner ran a clearly defined system in the knockout rounds. Spain won in 2010 running what everyone called tiki-taka. Then they showed up at the 2014 World Cup, got demolished 5-1 by the Netherlands in the group stage, and the whole football world declared the style dead on arrival. And they were right, but for entirely the wrong reasons. Because tiki-taka is dead. Has been for over a decade. But what Spain are running now isn't tiki-taka. And the fact that people still use that word every time Spain strings 3 passes together is genuinely one of my biggest complaints about football commentary. Let me fix it. Tiki-taka was possession for possession's sake. Pass it sideways, pass it backwards, keep it moving, wear teams down through sheer patience and volume of touches. It was Windows 95. It ran the game beautifully for a specific era, and then the rest of football built a high press that ripped it to pieces. Modern positional play is the iPhone. Same DNA. Completely different operating system. What Spain do now isn't about keeping the ball. It's about controlling space, the half spaces specifically. Those pockets between the defensive line and the midfield, between the center backs and the wide defenders, where opponents can't commit to closing you down without opening a bigger gap somewhere else. Rodri anchoring the base of midfield as the axis the whole system rotates around. Lamine Yamal on the right giving defenders genuine nightmares about 1-versus-1 situations they can't win. Nico Williams stretching the left channel, creating width that pulls the block apart. And then the passes go through the structure, not around it. This is exactly why Spain won Euro 2024. Not because they had the most talented player at the tournament, they might have, but that's not the reason. They won because every single opponent was made to feel positionally lost within the first 20 minutes of each game. The grass was the same size, the goals were the same height, but Spain made it feel like the other team was playing on a different pitch entirely. That's not talent, that's architecture. Comment below. Is positional play actually a different system from tiki-taka, or are we just rebranding the same concept with better marketing? I have a strong take. Leave yours first. But here's the angle that nobody is covering going into this tournament. Every tactic I've explained so far, the high press, the Gegenpress, positional play, they all require quality. High technical ability, athletic players across the squad, serious depth on the bench. So what's the tactic that lines up against all 3 of them and wins? With none of those things, I'll show you. And I'll show you exactly why the favorites are walking straight into it. The tactic football Twitter doesn't want to talk about, doesn't want to respect, doesn't want to admit operates at the absolute highest level, right up until it eliminates their team. And suddenly everyone's writing opinion pieces about how it's anti-football and not what the World Cup should look like. It's the low block, and it's about to have its tournament. Morocco 2022 gave us the clearest possible blueprint. 8 outfield players behind the ball at any given moment. Compact, layered, organized. The defensive shape so tight that even elite attackers start questioning whether the gap they're seeing actually exists. Bono in goal playing like he had an actual cheat code activated. And then, the moment Morocco win possession, Hakimi is already 40 meters up the pitch, moving at a speed that suggested he'd absolutely left the oven on and urgently needed to get back. Here is the tournament maths that people are ignoring. Every major favorite at World Cup 2026, England, France, Spain, Germany, Brazil, will face the low block 4 to 5 times minimum before the final. Because half the teams at this tournament don't have the squad depth, to sustain a press for 90 minutes or execute a positional system under knockout pressure. What they have is one thing: organization. The ability to defend in shape, be compact, be disciplined, and be lethal on the break. And against the right team on the right night, in a tournament where one result ends your campaign, that is categorically enough. The low block is the great equalizer of international football. It's the structural reason World Cup upsets happen at a rate that almost never occurs in club football. Preparation time is longer between international fixtures. Tactical drilling goes deeper. A well-organized defensive unit can hold anyone scoreless for 60 minutes if the shape is right and the concentration holds. And if you score on the counter, you have just changed football history. Morocco knows this, Senegal knows this, Japan knows this. Half the tournament knows this. It's only the favorites who seem surprised by it every 4 years. Since 2010, every World Cup winner ran a clearly defined system, and every single one of them also had to break a low block to get there. That's not a coincidence. That's the hidden architecture of the tournament. The tactical question of World Cup 2026 isn't which pressing system is more sophisticated or which positional framework is more elegant. It's which team built their system specifically to dismantle this. That's the real final. It always has been. Here's my flag in the ground. The most underrated tactic in this tournament is the low block and the counter. And the team that wins World Cup 2026 is going to be the team that solves it most consistently. Not through individual moments of brilliance, not through luck. Through a system built and drilled over months specifically to unlock that defensive structure. Mark it. Tell me whose tactical setup you actually trust to go deep in this tournament. And don't just say France because Mbappe. Mbappe writes thank you notes to low blocks and deep defensive lines. Tell me why your team's system survives the knockout rounds against organized opposition. What's the specific mechanism? What do you want next? Do you want me to go deep on England's exact pressing triggers under Tuchel? The specific movement cues that activate the line? Do you want Spain's half-space overloads broken down possession by possession? Should we do Germany's gegenpressing in knockout football and why it keeps collapsing at the exact wrong moments? What about Morocco's actual defensive block shape? How do they hold it for 90 minutes without fouling? Or should we break down the greatest World Cup final in the last 20 years? The one where all 4 of these systems showed up in a single match and tore each other apart. Pick one. Most liked reply. That's the next video. I mean it. If this is the kind of breakdown you want every week, hit subscribe and turn the bell on. We're doing the full tactical series. Every major system, every key matchup, every team that's going to surprise you when it matters. Welcome to Football Feed. Talk soon.